Hello, hello, and welcome, my Piscean collective sun, moon, rising signs. Welcome to your work, career, and vocation read for October and November 2020. I am your reader, Mark Angelo Lyons, Mal for short, professional witch, professional intuitive, president of DrawingTheCircle Productions, Pisces moon, the archangel of Lyons, Mark Angelo Lyons. But you can call me Mal. Hi, my Mer family. Mer. I love you guys so much. Yes, a new series hath been born, although not new to me. I've been doing these work, career, vocation reads for decades, right? Ever since I listened to a magnificent lecture from Caroline Myss, PhD. This is the Caroline Myss archetype part. It's called 3 Levels of Power. We're going to be looking at your work, career, and vocation through the lenses of the archetypal 3 lenses of power. Very, very powerful read. I've been doing it for myself and for clients for decades and decades at this point. So I was doing one the other night, and the divine was like, it was like 2 in the morning. They're like, go check your work, career, vocation. It was very revelatory, and they're like, now do that with the camera on your phone, not the usual HD cameras that I do my usual reads for. This is much easier. This is much faster, but I will still use my other ways of recording for the relationship reads with extendeds. And that's why thank you and welcome my subscribers for your subscriptions, right? For subscribing, for liking, for commenting. You're helping me get my numbers up so that I can hit eventually 30,000 is really my goal, so that I can have the membership thing, right? The join button, so that we can have all of the extended readings here on YouTube instead of only on Vimeo.com where you pay per view, right? You pay per. Each one you want to watch here, you'd pay once a month and you would get all of the extended readings as well as private chats, like private super chats. I don't know how that works. But really looking forward to that. That feels like the next, I don't know, the very next thing, but the next peak I am shooting for in my career as a YouTuber. Keep in mind, you know, I'm also doing private readings and spiritual counseling. It's like I'm a busy witch. That's how it rolls. You understand, don't you? My Pisces, of course you do. You're empathic and sympathetic and compassionate. So let's get up in this gig. If you are new to my channel, please do consider liking, subscribing. You just heard why. I really appreciate it. But let's get down to biz. We are looking at 3 levels of power: work, career, vocation. The physical world, the personal world, the symbolic world. Lower 3 chakras, solar plexus, sacrum, root chakra, heart, throat, third eye, and crown in your personal, and the 8th chakra up here. I've been saying since that it came through in this series, it's like the pinky, the middle finger, and the thumb. They all have different operations, but they all work together, right? You'll see how it goes. And this is the last reading. If you've already checked your other signs, you kind of get this. So let's do this. Let's just dive in. All the decks that I read are in the description box at the bottom. This is a general reading. Please take what resonates, leave what doesn't. Focus on your breath, and I will give you the best that I can. Shall we? Breathe. Because this is me too. I'm Pisces moon, so this might very well be a personal read. So please, my collective pantheons of angels, goddesses, gods, masters, and the higher selves of all involved, please, I need 3 cards, 3 Caroline Myss archetype cards for the soul powers being developed in this Pisces collective sun, moon, rising signs, work, career, and vocation. This archetype can be one of theirs in their sacred contract, dealing with it within somebody else in their sacred contract. An overall situation, it can be all of those, it can be any combination of those. It's going to play itself out differently from story to story, from person to person. So please, with the greatest clarity and guidance and grace, right? What is the dominant archetype going on for them in their work? Lower 3 chakras, work, survival, what you do to pay the bills, though I do not, my work in the world does not pay my bills, my career does. I'll explain that when these are out on the table. So please, what's going on in their career? Dominant archetype, heart, throat, third eye, and crown. Emotional thirst, mental hunger, your passion, right? That's how I make my money as a reader. I'm an administrator, a director, and a president. That doesn't pay my bills. That sets everything up so that I can pay my bills, right? As a reader, a healer, a teacher kind of deal. So what's going on in their vocation, their spiritual calling, that 8th chakra above the head, right? The home of the higher selves and all that jazz. What's the dominant archetype going on there? Now remember, archetypes are neutral. They can be triggering. There's shadow and light. The shadow is what you don't want to look at. or you might very well know about, but you don't want anybody else to know, right? The stuff you keep hidden, sometimes hidden even into ourselves. Lovely melodic sound, that backup beeping is. Thank you. Seems as soon as I call it out, it stops. What's going on in your work? Excellent. You've got the advocate archetype. This could be absolutely talking about someone who's a professional advocate, right? The devil's advocate, right? I mean, I'll read it to you in a minute, but I'm really picking up on the vibe here that an advocate, in this particular case with Pisces, there's a very, very strong emotional empathic thing that makes you want to speak out for those who cannot speak. For example, animals. Right, an animal advocate, different than a rescuer archetype, but the action family of archetypes, I think you'll dig this. Now let's get the shadow out of the way. Embracing negative causes or committing to causes for personal gain, and that can be tricky in the physical world in terms of work. Well, I hate this fucking job, and I hate these people, and I burn the place down. I'm going to stay here. I'm going to commit to this because I need the money, and I understand that. But now catch the light side of it. I've been there. Light attribute inspires you to put compassion into action, right? And that's more the heavier vibe I have on here. Yeah, there might be some times in our youth, in our journey, that we've committed to things that really weren't on the up and up, right? Really was more destructive, negative, politically, socially, but financially, committing to them for personal gain. That's not always about money too. So let's see what's going on in your second level, because the advocate in its light is so brave and so bright. But Pisceans might be having some hidden agendas in there that they are not aware of in terms of personal gain for whatever it is that's going on in their world of work. Now, again, this might not be you. This could be someone else. This could be the overall situation that you're in. But the key is putting compassion into action, which is not the easiest thing to do. And here is the gambler archetype. Now, the gambler archetype has showed up a couple of times. The Aquarian read I just did had it in the vocation position. And where else do I see you here? I could have sworn I saw you somewhere else in here. Maybe not. So the gambler only showed up with Aquarius, I guess is what I'm seeing here. The guy, the witch, the thief, the beggar. Because now that we're at the end of these, I can see more alignments with zodiacal connection. Now, I think this is the only one that has had the gambler aside from Aquarius. So it's time to take a risk. In terms of your career, the shadow attribute, the gambler relies on luck rather than hard work. I wouldn't at this point. Different than catch the light. Willingness to follow intuition even when others doubt you. And certainly, though, this could be someone else or a situation. I'm feeling this is you. This is the, I mean, intuition is it's our thing. The water signs, like everybody has intuition. Intuition is not a gift, it's a skill. Carolyn Mays, PhD, said that. But this is really like, inside of you, you have to do something. And there's action to be taken in the physical world, but there's a risk, and others might be doubting you. Whew, what a test, right? When there is that emotional hunger inside, mental hunger, that emotional thirst of intuition to do something, like, oh my God, it's just, I'm dehydrating. I'm so being called forward to take this risk. And there is risk here. But negotiable risk. I don't think it's like, shaving your head, changing your name, moving to another planet or country, right? I'm not feeling that kind of risk here. But it is a back and forth, trying to find your balance on that tightrope. But you can't rely on luck on this one. You have to do the hard work. And just knowing with my gods, they're like, we set it all up for you, but you have to take the risk. If you don't take the risk, it doesn't matter how much luck you have or don't have, you have to actualize it. It's a very, very clear reading so far, particularly because we're looking at an action archetype here. This is as well the action family of archetype, I believe, right? Because it's a willingness to follow intuition, even when others doubt you. Let's see what's going on in your vocation. Brilliant. The mentor. This could mean that you have a business mentor, work career, or a vocational mentor, or you are one, or this is your relationship with the divine, that you are being mentored. Now, the shadow attribute I don't think would apply to the divine, but it might apply if you're being the mentor or someone is mentoring you. Inability to allow the student to move on to the role of master, imparting false instructions, right? So a mentor is like an instructor. It's different than a teacher. It's usually a more one-on-one situation. As a teacher, I speak to large rooms of people, right? Although I will take a private student every now and again. But that is really more like mentorship, and I don't really have the mentor archetype. I'm more of a teacher. So we're looking at the wisdom family archetype here, and I've been in situations where people have mentored me and deliberately sabotaged me so that I wouldn't shine brighter than them. Go fuck yourself right now. Hindsight 2020, even with contact lenses. The light attribute, passing on wisdom and refining a student's character. So that's more like what you're shooting for here, whether this is your relationship with the divine, your dreams, your masters, your gods, whatever your higher power is, 8th chakra stuff. There's really a download here for you about getting what you need to refine your character, refine someone else's, but nonetheless, it is part of your spiritual calling right now. So why wouldn't you go through 8th chakra, right, as a mentorship in some way, shape, or form that's going to come down to this interior risk that you're going to try and put the compassion as a result of that into action. That's the soul powers involved. This next set that will hit the table, Daughters of the Moon Tarot, are going to be what's going on inside of you. Now, this is your interior stuff, sort of represented by that gambler in that middle position, right? That's the mental, emotional stuff, the psychological stuff. But this will also help probably determine whether these archetypes are yours or you are dealing with them in someone else or a situation. Take a nice deep breath. My goddesses of Pisces, Artemis, Diana, Circe, please, 3 cards in clarity for this Piscean collective sun, moon, rising sign in their work, career, and vocation. October, November 2020, please. They've got the Advocate in their work. What's going on inside of them there? They've got the Gambler in their career. What's going on inside of them? This is inside the Pisces, not if this represents anybody else. What's going on inside of them in their vocation with the Mentor archetype? I will take that. If I don't see it and it jumps out, I will take it. But if I see it, nope. Don't want to know until it flips. Okay. You've got the Advocate archetype. As we said, putting compassion into action is the goal you're shooting for here in the alchemy. You, somebody else, or the situation. And you have got the 9 of Blades on the inside, the card of criticism. Now, you know 9 of Blades, it's sleepless nights. It's overthinking. You're not in your heart when you're doing this. You're overthinking this, what's going on in your heart in terms of the physical world. Look, I don't have a problem with the word criticism. I mean, I am a Virgo. Like anything else, it has its light and its shadow. Like, if there's a new restaurant in town, I do want to read the reviews. Like, I want to read the critique. What about critical care units? What about, so that word criticism, that intense focus, and you can see it in the card there, right? All those arrows pointing inward. But in the shadow side of that, it can be debilitating and can stop you from taking action, particularly if the archetype here is inspiring you to put compassion into action. Overthinking this, probably not going to help. But let's look what's going on in your career. Remember, all of these things are, or maybe you're feeling this is very critical, right? It's like, this is so important. 1 digit out of place and the whole world will fall to ashes. Well, it is 2020. I suppose anything's possible. So in your career, we've got the Gambler archetype, right? Right there in that mental emotional field. And we're looking at overthinking here about work. So what's going on here? We got to find something for that compassion. And there we go. The Strength card. The Strength card, your first major arcana thing here. This is about courage. This is about internal fortitude. This is about internal strength. Willingness to follow intuition even when others doubt you. This is self-confidence. This is strength. This is maybe invisible strength, internal strength, more yin here. But you have what it takes to be a compassionate heart in here and get the job done and put it into action. I really feel that. And it's also to trust yourself, to trust your heart's desires. Now look, we have heart's desires and then we have what the heart needs. The soul always gets what it needs. the personality sometimes gets what it wants. When what it wants and what the soul needs is the same thing, we call it manifestation. It doesn't always work that way, right? You got to get what you need. There's a real strength here. There's even almost like I'm getting for some of you a leadership quality inside of you that is a real risk to take the lead on something here. But I feel like the reasons are personal, more psychological than literal. And that's why I think there's an overthinking going on here. That you might have this very, very strong risk taker inside of you that you might be willing to jump off cliffs, as it were, for certain things, depending on what you think the consequence is. But in terms of your career, I could see you taking your time on this and needing some mentorship. So let's look. Got the mentor archetype here in the 8th chakra, right? Your vocation, your calling, with the Wheel of Fortune. Okay? Look, things are changing, we know that, but do you know that everything is scripted? Infinite variety of quantum variation of script, granted, but that what you are going through, it is time. It is interwoven in your fate. Now, fate you cannot change, but what you do about it is called manifesting destiny, taking the hero's journey. And, you know, Maul Flanders, if you watch any of my live streams, she's been saying to me, you have to do live streams more about the hero's journey. People don't know about it. I'm like, yeah, but it's in every movie, right? Every story, it's in our lives. Read Joseph Campbell. God, of course, that noise just golf balled it out of my head. Not the power of myth. It's about the hero. With Joseph Campbell, I'm sure he's one of my spirit guides. I adored him when he was alive. I adore him now. So definitely a turn of the wheel going on inside of you spiritually, right? In terms of your spiritual power, physical power, mental, emotional power, spiritual power here. That mentorship, you are being guided and refined, and it does feel a little bit more one-on-one. So whether you are working with spiritual counsel, or you don't know how many people who have lost their jobs, had health things, came to the witch after they've, monster.com'd all over the place, and I read them and I gave them a spell or two. Try this, perfect work, perfect way, perfect service, perfect pay, for the well-being of all and harm to none, as I will it, so let it be done. Stir it in your coffee, put it in your bath water, gargle it, however, right? But right now, I feel like the real power for you here is not so much in the external world, Pisces, right? It's more in the spiritual, the mental, emotional. That's where there's stuff. And then as that resolves itself, of course, that physical thing, so it's like incarnating it from the 8th chakra down. So you have guidance. Who are your mentors? Now, you do not have to have physical contact with a mentor. You can have a mentor with Socrates, if you're of the age to know what that means, right? That you can have a long distance mentor. For a while, I really felt like Marianne Williamson was my long distance mentor, even though I met her a couple of times. But it's just like what she would put out would always be like right in alignment with what I need. And I think you can find that on YouTube here too with spiritual teachers and readers. So I do think your dominant power here is your spiritual connection with that mentor. And again, that could be you too. You could be mentoring someone. Let's see what this looks like on the outside. That should help. 3 cards, Mythic Tarot, the gods, looking at the yang aspect, the external. Let's do this. My gods, please. 3 cards in clarity for this Piscean collective. Sun, Moon, Rising Sign in their work, career, and vocation. What is it that's going on the outside, the yang, the physical manifestations in this work, career, vocation? Please. Yeah, no, Will, but remember, if I didn't, you fell on the floor, I still wouldn't take you. Please, can we have 1 card in clarity for this Piscean collective, Sun, Moon, Rising sign? They've got the Advocate with the 9 of Blades in their work. What's that look like on the outside? They've got the Gambler with the card of Strength. What does that look like on the outside in their career and in their vocation? We have got the Mentor with the Spider Woman, the Wheel of Fortune. What does that look like on the outside, work, career, vocation? Advocate, 9 of Blades, 9 of Blades, 9 of Blades with Queen of Swords. Ooh, head over heart. Look, play the game as you need to, but eventually there's gotta be compassion put into action here in order for this to resolve. Yes, there is overthinking, but I think that overthinking comes from being too strategic. The best laid plans of mice and men. Do you know what I mean? It's like I had so many stratagems moving forward in my career, but let's say 3.5 years ago, and then 3 years ago, boom, my entire work career and vocation, not so much the vocation, but the work and the career blew up. Started working from my home, started writing books. Now I'm a YouTuber, right? So never would have thought that that would be the case. So whatever is going on here, yes, I understand the need to strategize. It is the Aquarian card, the Queen of Swords, fixed water. So there can be, if you can really see this from the larger point of view, or maybe you're dealing with somebody who really has no compassion, who really has no empathy. Pure fixed air is not going to change their mind, sees it the way that they see it. And that could cause anybody a lot of mental stress and critical thinking because, oh my God, if I say the wrong word, if I say the right word, but with the wrong inflection, oh my God, I'm getting Devil Wears Prada. I'm totally getting Devil Wears Prada here in terms of this Ice Queen, so to speak. And yet what's so funny about Aquarius is the softer side of that is that can't we all just get along, right? It's universal compassion. It's societal empathy. So not terribly emotional here, but that one may be like if you can get that this person must be in some kind of pain, that you can put compassion into action, that will begin taking you from too much up here to start opening this up. How that affects your work environment, I don't know. By the way, you can do shit secretly. Like I pray for people who annoy me. Oh, no wonder I'm always in prayer. It's 2020, it's the election year, and I just don't mean political figures, them too. But I also mean what people are just, the narratives that are coming out are just so insane, right? Overthinking. So let's look at this gambler archetype in your career with the card of strength. Really powerful, this. Like I could feel a lot of passion behind this gamble. Ooh, and on the outside, you are keeping your mouth shut, High Priestess. You're experiencing the internal transformations and downloads and all of that stuff. Two major kind of cards. Whack on top of whack, right? With the gambler, keep your mouth shut on this. Seriously, shh, keep it secret, keep it safe. Absolutely. You have the courage to do this, or you're in the process of finding that courage to do that within yourself. But I would not say a word. Not if this Queen of Swords is an off with their heads kind of deal. Screw that. No. Oh, I feel you, my fishy family. I have walked out of jobs because of employer abuse. See you. Bye, Felicia. Gotta go, right? But that didn't mean that I did not have a strategy in play. Although one time I worked at 9 West Shoes in Copley Plaza, Copley Mall in Boston. And the manager that I had just pissed me off. I was so angry. I went to my friend Ann's house for lunch and I never went back. They mailed me my check. No shit. Well, I was a rebel and then it's not that I'm not now. Okay, so we've got the mentor in that 8th chakra, that vocation, your spiritual calling. With the Wheel of Fortune, you have to say, the Spider Woman, that there is a fate and destiny piece here that it's time. It is time for you to take this risk. And on the outside, you are still contemplating your choices. The 7 of Cups. Fine. Doesn't have to be right now. That's what it's saying. This is a timing thing. You can't screw up divine timing, right? And we always learn what we need to learn eventually. It's just how quick do we want to learn? Sometimes so much has to change inside of us. But with that mentor there, like I feel like even your higher self is like, well, your higher self's in on everything. But in terms of pointing out what your options are, if you're feeling a bit trapped, that 9 of Blades in the physical world, that what are my options? What are my options? Like, get a higher perspective on this. Get up into that 8th chakra, prayer, meditation, whatever, Zen underwater basket weaving, whatever it is that you do, to kind of get yourself up into that place of mentorship, as well as to work with any mentors. But I'm going to tell you, the mentors that are going to help you, yes, because you can find career advice anywhere. Work career advice anywhere. Really, free, I'm sure, on YouTube, right? You could watch videos all day long. But this is more like my life plan. This is more like a spiritual bend on it. inspirational, right? If it doesn't feel right to you, you may do it, but you're not going to commit to it, Pisces. I know how that feels. Like, you know, people say, well, why don't you just get a regular job? Like, I work 7 days a week as is, and I love it, and it's passionate. And it's 2020, right? It's like, no, right? It's just like that. But in my gut and my soul, it's like, no, you're not doing that. That's not the way to go. Here, do this. It's a greater risk what you're doing. But ultimately, look, compassion is such a big word for Pisces because we are the empaths of the zodiac. Everybody has the empathic skill of, intuitive skill of empathy if they develop it, but it takes practice. What am I feeling? That's me. What am I feeling? That's you. But once you begin really feeling where people are at and understanding your empathic skills, compassion comes. It's like, oh, she's not a bitch. He's not an asshole. They're in pain. Oh my God, I feel their pain. So eventually, whether you stay in this work situation, and maybe that domineering voice is your own, you know, or the voice of somebody from the past in your head. But with that external card there, Queen of Swords, it feels like this is someone very formidable. Let's put it all together from the 8th chakra down, right? So you've got the Mentor, Wheel of Fortune, and the 9 of Cups. You are absolutely looking at what your other options are that are more in alignment with your fate and your destiny and receiving or being a mentor. Maybe you're mentoring yourself. It can happen. Could happen, right? It can happen. Oh, Judy. In your career, that's really manifesting down as this gamble that's going on here that you have the strength, the courage, and perhaps the passion for, but you are keeping it a secret, which I think is wise. You know, the Pisces, being a Pisces moon, I can keep a secret. Like, I did gossip when I was younger because people gossip when they're younger. But that's what makes me a brilliant spiritual counselor, is that I have vows that I made to my gods to keep my work one-on-one with people confidential. I'm allowed to change the names, the genders, and use the piece of wisdom that was taught as a situational story, but no identities involved. So I get that. Keep your legs crossed. I know it's a Virgo reference, but this is Persephone. You know, this is Persephone. This is her, no longer Lady of, Maiden of Spring or Lady of Summer. This is her becoming queen of the underworld. She's already in the underworld. If you see behind her there, right? It's like she's already underground. So keep it secret, keep it safe. You don't have to act on this right this red hot second, but it is a gamble. And if your intuition as a Pisces, right? Willingness to follow intuition even when others doubt you. So what are the chances then? With this Advocate, wanting so much to put compassion into action, but a lot of critical thought that there's somebody who's doubting you, right? From that thing, willingness to act on intuition even when others doubt you. It feels like this is somebody coming at you, or again, it could be yourself. Facts and figures, rules and regulations. Well, you can't do that, and you can't do that because that's not done, and that's not done. And that might have been true last year, but that might not be true anymore. Right? And that's why I feel like there's this timing element going on here. So really, you put this all together, there's an opportunity here for you. And I don't feel like you have to quit your job, but I do feel like you're being guided into something. Take your time with it. Let it unfold. Everything has slowed down this year except some things. So I really feel like you're going to make your way through your work career and your vocation. But dealing with, I don't want to say a formidable opponent. This could be a parent. This could be the Queen of Swords can be so head over heart that they've completely divorced themselves from their intuition for a time. Let's just say for a time. So this might not be, and they might be very critical, or you might feel very criticized by them. So how do you put compassion into action rather than what? Embrace negative causes or committing to causes for personal gain. Like, let's get rid of them, which sometimes the universe will move them out. But there's an opportunity for you here to really anchor your core compassion using that mentorship and taking a gamble. So may the Piscean collective sun, moon, rising signs be blessed with all that they need in their work, their career, and their vocation, that they may heal, that they may grow, that they may create, that they may follow their intuition, that they may take the inspiration and guidance to really suss out what are their best options here, while they keep sacred and secret what's going on inside of them, building that courage inside of themselves to do what needs to be done, and eventually bringing compassion into action here, regardless of criticism of their own. That process of thinking it through is one thing. That process of stabbing yourself in the heart with terror is another. And whoever this Queen of Swords is, whether an internalized voice or an externalized person, that they may help them heal, that they may move forward, putting compassion into action for their well-being, the well-being for all concerned here, and for the well-being of all of life. That 12th house empathic love that they are for the well-being of all. So mote be, and so it is. Thank you for watching. Please do like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, comment. How is this playing out for you? I would love to see that, particularly as a Pisces moon. I would love to kind of get some external confirmations on this. So if this connects to you, please say so below. If not, maybe this wasn't your read today, but otherwise, wishing you all the very best and the very blessed of your work, career, and vocation, October, November 2020. My fishy families. Hail. Farewell, and blessed, blessed be.